I'm running, I feel like a lot of people think like, oh, there's just nothing going on. No, I mean, sometimes I'm doing like math. I knew ever since I was a freshman, ever since I really started running, I wanted to run in college. So that was always the dream. I was like anti 5K. Even though I ran cross country, I was like, do not put me in a 5K on a track. That is not my thing. A ton of collegiate athletes got recruited because they reached out to their coach. There's nothing a coach likes more than when they see that an athlete is dedicated, because that's not something you can really teach. There's just so much more to life in so many ways. It really just opened my eyes about just so many things.
What does it really take to make it to the next level in sports, and is it worth the sacrifices? If you could ask a college or pro athlete one unfiltered question about their journey, what would it be and why? And are the choices you're making today, the teams, the coaches, the training schedule, are those setting you up for success or burning you out before you even get there? I'm Kate Fitzgerald, a D1 beach volleyball player, walk-on turned scholarship athlete, female and sport leader, and now the founder of 2 businesses built through NIL. But none of that came easy. And trust me, most of it wasn't the brochure.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's podcast episode. Today, we have a very special guest. She is a senior on Nebraska's track and field cross-country team, originally from Phoenix, Arizona, now representing the Cornhuskers. Academically, she is majoring in nutrition and health science with a major in psychology, aiming for a future in sports dietetics. Despite the challenges of COVID-era relocation, she balanced shifting majors, frequent family separation, and the life of a Division I athlete. Significantly, she also completed a study abroad experience, which is very rare for a D1 athlete to do, while maintaining her D1 athletic schedule, a rare and compelling experience for student athletes all over. Please help me welcome Cami to the show.
Hey guys, I'm Cami.
Hi.
Like she said, I'm from Arizona, and I'm currently in Nebraska. I've been here for the past 4 years, and I love it. So
Amazing. I'm so excited to have you on today because you have such a unique story. Not only are you an incredible track and field athlete, but you're going into your 5th year at Nebraska and you've had the ability to study abroad. So that's just a really unique experience most athletes don't get. What year did you do that?
I actually did that last year, and I did it in the summer. And it was kind of an ongoing conversation. I didn't want to go at first because there was I was worried about my training schedule. I was worried about, my nutrition. I was worried about so many things. And I talked to my coach, and we kind of had a system. I called him like once a week. We texted all the time, and we used like the Garmin app. So everything just uploaded to the app and he could see everything I was doing. And the biggest thing is he just trusted me, and I'm a very dedicated athlete. So it was easy for him to say, go do your thing, go live your life. And it was the most incredible experience of my life. So
That's amazing. And I can't wait to dive into it a little bit deeper as we get into this episode. But first, take me back. Like, what got you into track and what got you started as an athlete?
So my mom actually ran track for the University of Georgia, and I grew up playing soccer. And I remember I was always begging her, like, please take me to a track meet. I want to be in club track. And she was always a little hesitant because she didn't want to put me in it too young and kind of get me like in that stage where I got to burn out and then I like hated it. But she eventually did take me to a track club, and I started running around 7th, 8th grade for club track. And I was also swimming at the time. I stopped playing soccer. So I was doing swimming and track, and my parents kind of said, let's pick one sport for high school. Let's focus on that and, go all in. So I picked track, which along came cross country also. So all 4 years of high school, I ran cross country and track. And I knew ever since I was a freshman, ever since I really started running, I wanted to run in college. So that was always the dream. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. And so you played soccer for most of your life growing up, and then it was really 8th grade going into high school where you solidified, I want track to be my main sport, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, but so many people get confused around track. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions. Like how did you decide within track and field what you wanted your specialty to be in your events?
So when I played soccer, my coaches would always say, like, I would be running around just everywhere. I was not as out of breath as everyone else. I just loved to run the field up and down. And that was kind of when my parents and even my soccer coaches were like, she's a distance runner, you should get her in distance. And I started out running the mile and the 1500. which is a shorter distance. And I said, I'm never running the 2 mile. That's way too long. It ended up being my favorite race. And now in
Really?
college,
See,
yes.
that's exactly why I left soccer. I was like, I can't run anymore. I need to go. I mean, beach
Yeah.
volleyball wasn't much less, but really, so 2 miles, you just loved it. What do you feel while you're running 2 miles?
I feel like the 2 mile is so fun for me because it's one of those races you get into it and it's not like right from the gun. If you don't get a good start, if you don't get out good, you're like toast. You can settle in. There's so much strategy. It's so strategic. And that's kind of what I love about it because you get into a pace, you kind of like sit on some people, you move in a certain place. So it's really fun because it is so strategic.
Can you tell me more about that? Because especially for like a young athlete listening, I feel like you hear track and field and then you hear distance track and field, and you're like, okay, you just have to run 2 miles in like X amount of time. When, like you said, there's strategy behind it. So what do you mean?
So I'll walk you through like a typical, let me go back to my high school days of me in the 2 mile.
Yeah.
So it's 8 laps. And when I say strategy, it's you don't want to get out too hard, you don't want to get out too slow, but you want to get out, a good, comfortable pace, but you want to start building every single lap. And then when you hit that middle mark, you want to start cutting down. So you need to be at a place where you get to the middle mark, you can start going down, but you don't want to be, too exhausted to where you're gonna positive split your race because a perfect race, is the definition of a perfect race in the track world is a negative split race. So where the first part of the race would be slower than the second part of the race. So
Really? Okay. So in high school, that's what you started to like learn how to do is navigate that split essentially.
yes. And in high school it's you just have a lot more competitors than you do in club track. So that just comes with a lot of like you learn who you should be behind, you learn when you should move, you learn, maybe when someone else is gonna make a move early, someone else that maybe has a kick, maybe someone is stronger in the middle. So you kind of learn to play off of other people's strengths while kind of focusing on what your own strengths are.
So you're thinking about a lot while you're running. It's not just like music in your
No,
ears
it
and you're
is like
running.
there is so much going on. I mean, like when I'm running, I feel like a lot of people think like, oh, there's just nothing going on. No, I mean, sometimes I'm doing like math. I'm like calculating all my splits. I'm like, okay, I'm at a 72. I need to be here for my
Really?
next one. Yeah,
So it probably makes the run go by a little faster.
it definitely helps.
It
Much
definitely
rather have a
helps.
lot going on than nothing.
That's fascinating. So then when did you move away from the 2 mile out of high school?
Out of high school, so going into college, we don't run the 2 mile anymore. It becomes the
Right.
3K. And so I started running the 3K and then we do them it's kind of weird. We do the mile indoor and then we do the 1500 outdoor. And then outdoor there actually is no 2 mile or 3K, which is kind of how I got into the steeple because I loved the 2 mile, but there was kind of a gap. It was either the 1500 or the 5K. And it's up until last year, I was like anti 5K. Even though I ran cross country, I was like, do not put me in a 5K on a track. I'm not doing it. Like that is not my thing. And I ended up running one last year and I ran really well and I realized it's actually kind of fun. So,
Really?
that's that.
Can
But
you
yeah.
can you for those like listening who are probably just getting into track or their parents, are trying to help their kids navigate track, can you just break and explain what you said a little more right there into like what it all means?
Yeah. So college and high school the distances are a tiny bit different, which don't ask me why. It's weird like
Just how
that.
it
But
is. Yeah.
yeah. So college, we run a 3K, which is 200 meters short of the 2 mile, which is what you run in high school. And then we do the mile, but only outdoor because indoor we run on 200-meter tracks. And um, actually, no, we do the mile indoor because we run on 200-meter tracks. Outdoor, we run the 1500 on a full 400-meter track. So it does kind of get confusing. And for the kids like me who, you're just like, I love the 2 mile, you're kind of stuck in a weird spot because you got to get your foot speed under you and you got to do the mile or you're going to get thrown in a 5K or a 10K, which I'm really not doing that. So
You're like, no, please keep me out of there.
no, yeah, no
Please keep
10Ks.
me there. So you always knew when you joined track, like, I want to be a distance runner. That was always your goal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even I wasn't even really interested in the 800. I ran the 800 a couple times in high school
Well,
and I
that's just a
just,
sprint. That's just
yes,
a long
exactly.
sprint.
It's literally a 2 lap sprint and I was like, this is not my thing because there is I mean, there's obviously a lot of strategy in the 800, but it's like you get out and you got to sprint 2 laps. There's
Yeah.
no like, okay, let me settle in, let me make a move here. It's like you just need to sprint all out.
Like,
So,
get going, get going. Yeah.
exactly.
So then when again taking it back to high school and you really got into track, you focused and said this is going to be my sport. I'm going to do distance. I love the 2 mile. You kind of figured yourself out. When and what kicked off your recruitment process? Like how did that start? Was it help from your parents? Like what was that like?
So I would say my parents obviously helped a lot, but my older brother, who he ran for a school in Minnesota called St. John's, he was a huge part of my recruitment process because I really did not know no one from my high school went D1 track. I mean, there might have been like one other person, and there were no distance runners before me or close to when I was
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
I
You
was
had no
kind of like,
mentors.
yeah, I was
You had
like
no one to
clueless. I
tell
was
you what
like,
to do. Yeah.
exactly. I was like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. I don't even know like where I'm supposed to look. And I had, some college coaches reaching out to me and I was just like still like how am I supposed to choose like where to go? Like I
Yeah,
have no idea.
totally.
So my older brother, he actually went through and he helped me like make a list. I made a list of like college coaches that had already reached out to me, colleges that I just had interest in on my own. And we kind of like went through that. And that is Nebraska is a college that reached out to me, and it was like one of the places I really wanted to go. I would say it was my top school. So, but that was just a huge part of it because without him, it would have, I mean, I don't really know. I would have
Yeah.
been like so lost. But
Yeah.
he kind of just like took me under his wing. And it's funny because he went to a D3 school. So the process is a little bit different for them. So he didn't really know what he was doing either. So it's kind of like a
You're
learning
just like
process for
faking
both
it
of
till you
us.
make it. Yeah. So what
Exactly.
did you do through that process when you found like you had your list of schools that were reaching out to you, which is incredible. So how did you respond to those schools? And then what did you do to reach out to schools that weren't reaching out to you?
So I responded to everybody. I made it like a point to respond to everybody because they took the time to reach out to me. I wanted to respond to them, even if there were a couple I was like, absolutely, I don't think I'm interested. But I did respond to everybody, and if I didn't really know, I got on a call with them. Sometimes it was like 2 or 3 calls. It would be like with the coach first, and then like with the team. And then for the schools that didn't reach out to me, I would send, I had like kind of like an email template my brother also helped me with.
Yeah.
And I would send an email to the coach and I would say, I'm a rising senior in high school. These are my times. I'm interested in talking about, your college program, whatever. And then I got some
Yeah.
responses there. So
And your template,
yeah.
you'd have like your base, but then you'd specialize it for the school, right?
Yes, exactly. I would
And why you
always
were
say
interested
like,
in.
yes, like hi, the coach's name, and then why I was interested in that school. Always
Right. And
personalize it.
it has to be. They can sniff it
Yes.
out. So then what once you got there and you picked Nebraska and you're like, okay, my dream school, you got so excited that those two came together. What was you like when you got there? Like do you remember freshman year?
Oh my gosh. I remember I was so eager to get out of Arizona because I didn't even look at Arizona schools. I knew I did
Yeah.
not want to go to Arizona. I wanted to get out and I was so excited, but it was also terrifying because I live like it's a 20-hour drive, so it's not like I can just like go home. I can get on a plane to go home, but
Yeah.
I was very far and I do have some family friends here, which is another reason this was like a great option for me because I do have some people that are in my corner if I need them, but it was scary because I was like I don't even know anyone. Like I don't even have any friends.
Yeah.
I'm just like flopping myself on this campus and I've never like I don't know. So it was it was, I would say, like 50-50. I was like so excited, but the first week was very rough for me. Um, and I had a great roommate. I met her like through Instagram, and she was awesome. But there were
Was
so
she
many
a
ups and
teammate as
downs.
well?
She actually wasn't. She was just like she was in a sorority. I
Really?
Yeah, we just randomly met on Instagram, and I kind of like really connected with her, and I was like, I want to live with her. So
Yeah.
that was really
But
cool. And
that's
I
not
think it was,
common.
no, it's not. Usually you do live with your teammates, but my recruiting class was kind of weird because we were all recruited during COVID. So none of us ever went on visits. We didn't even know each other. So I honestly had no idea who was in my class or what was going on. So I was like, I'm just going to find someone myself, and,
I love
maybe
that.
it will be better that way. So, and I love
Do you
that.
think that Sorry, so do you think
No,
that
you're good.
got you closer to your teammates then because you weren't living together all the time?
Yes, I definitely think so, because I think with like living together freshman year with your teammates, you're with them 24/7. I mean, even my teammates now,
Oh, yeah.
like the
Oh,
past
yeah.
4 years, it's like you're with them all the time. So I think it's kind of hard to just go back to your room and it's like, okay, you're just surrounded by the same person
Yeah.
literally all the time. So it was great to have
Yeah.
like a little break.
Yeah. That's exciting. That's exciting. So
Yeah.
then moving into it, you went from Phoenix to Nebraska. You talked a little bit how that transition was for you personally. What was that like for you athletically?
I would say my freshman year athletically, I definitely struggled a little bit. I think that's pretty typical for, a freshman just coming in to kind of have like a harder time adjusting to the mileage. I was not very high in mileage in high school. We didn't do like crazy workouts or anything. So there was a lot of adjusting that needed to be done. And I will be honest, my freshman cross country season was not super great. And that's
Yeah.
okay because I mean, over the years, I just kept getting better and better and better. And it was just, I mean, it's just part of the learning curve and part of the process. But I mean, my coaches were great, my teammates were great. So it was just part of the learning process.
Was it not great in the sense of like you're just homesick, or was it not great in the sense of athletics, or kind of all the above?
It was more just like I just wasn't performing super great. I was just having a really hard time adjusting to like the mileage and the workouts and
Yeah.
everything. I had like a couple little like nagging injuries because I've kind of shot up in mileage. I was like in high school, I just didn't run. I think my long run was probably like 7 miles, and then I get to college and my long run is like 12. So it was a big
Wow.
difference.
That's a
So yeah,
jump. So
yeah,
your
it
body probably
was,
was like having a hard time preparing for that.
yeah, I had some back issues, I had some knee problems. There were so many issues.
So
Yeah.
do you find more now that like younger athletes are starting to train the longer mileage in high school, or if they aren't, would you highly recommend they start doing that?
I think like there's a middle ground, and the middle ground is like
Okay.
perfect because now I think high school athletes are definitely training and running a lot longer than I did in high school. And I mean, I was a freshman in high school so long
Yeah.
ago, like
Yeah.
2018,
Yeah.
2017. But I also think it's really dangerous to be at a super high collegiate level mileage in high school because then there's nothing to build off of. So I think you want to be in a good
Interesting.
spot where you can make that little jump, but you can also, build out a little bit farther. But if you're like super low, like I don't know, like 15, 20 miles a week, it's going to be a lot harder to make the jump to 50 miles a week because you have a
Wow.
30 gap than if you were at like 35, 40. So
I'm lucky if I run 5 miles a week. Like I'm pretty sure there's stats that like people stop running after the age of the 30. So 50 miles a week is a lot. That's very impressive. So now moving away a little bit from your athletic journey and the experiences you've had as an athlete specifically, and now more to the student side, you came into college and you're leaving college with a different major from what I read about. So can you kind of walk through what prompted the switch and how you navigated switching majors while competing?
Yeah, so I came into college, and I wanted to be a dietitian initially. And actually, the thing that kind of flipped my switch was when I studied abroad. So I studied
Okay.
abroad through the business college, which I'm not a business major. I'm in the science college, but I studied in the business college, and I had an internship with a women's health company, and I was doing like their marketing and their social media, and I was doing like the research and the analytics for a ton of um, it was just like a very broad company, just women's health, like all over the map. So we could kind of do like, I did a ton of stuff on athletes, like sleep, nutrition. I kind of had like free will to pick what I wanted to do. And that kind of flipped the switch for me because I originally wanted to be a dietitian. And that was my, like, I kind of had like blinders on. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And when I did that, I kind of saw like the business side of it. And I love nutrition. I love health and wellness. It like embodies my life. Like that's literally, I like live that lifestyle every single day. So it's so easy for me to love that. But when I saw the business and analytics side of it, I was like, this is so cool. So I kind of got into like that side of it, and I still want to do, nutrition, wellness, marketing, but it's more like the business aspect of the nutrition and wellness. And I just realized that last year. So that was kind of crazy for me because I was getting to my senior year and I was kind of like, this is kind of scary. Like I'm gonna make a change. I'm graduating with my this major, but it still is like very integrated in what I want to do. So I'm
Yeah.
glad I have it.
So what major because like we said, like so moving away a little bit, like I said, from athletics and getting into like the academic side of things, what major did you come in with and what major are you leaving with?
So my major coming in, I believe it was pre-health, and I graduated with nutrition, exercise, health science, which those two are like kind of similar. But right now I'm getting my marketing master's. So I did end up graduating with the nutrition degree just because I kind of had this like last minute epiphany last year, before my senior year.
Yeah.
And like I said, I still like love the nutrition and wellness aspect. So I still wanted to graduate with that major, just not with the intention of going to dietetics school anymore. So
Yeah. And that
yeah.
epiphany stemmed from studying abroad in this sports internships. Just kind of let's get into that because I never hear of D1 student athletes. I almost quitting because I was like, oh, I really want to study abroad one time in college. And obviously I didn't. I'm grateful I didn't. But you did something really rare there and you kept up with your D1 training. What made you and gave you that decision to pursue that adventure? And how did you structure your life to pull it off?
So initially, I was actually like so against it. I was like, because I'm very like, yes, I'm very type A. I'm very routine oriented. I love when things are like blocked out. I know what my plan is. I can do it. And when you go to a different country, somewhere I've never been, it's a lot harder to sit down and be like, I'm going to do this, 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 and this, especially when
Yeah.
I'm training for, a cross country season, my senior season. So I was actually like super against it. And my parents were, they wanted me to go. They were very open to it, and they were kind of like trying to convince me because they were like, this would be a great opportunity. And I was like, oh, like I don't know. And then I saw that there was a business study abroad in Barcelona, and something about Barcelona to me, I was just like, you know what? Like this sounds really cool. And I kind of
Yeah.
just bit the bullet, and I was like, I'm going to push myself. Like I was like, I need to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I pushed myself so far out of my comfort zone. I mean, I remember I got there on the first day and I was sitting in my little tiny room and I was like, what did I just do? What am I doing
Yeah.
here?
Totally.
But so I got there and it took me a little bit to get adjusted. Obviously, I'd never been to Europe before. I'd never been to Spain. I was living with a bunch of girls from the University of Nebraska, but I didn't know them. So I just kind of had like a plan. I was like, I had my training schedule. I had it. There was a gym right next to my apartment. And it was a 24-hour gym. So I had a gym membership, and our trip coordinator, she would always find like trails to send me to run because she knew I was an athlete. So she always sent me like places I could go, and I loved to run. Like I loved training in Barcelona, and I traveled to so many other countries, and I will die on the hill of the best way to explore a country is just run through it. Like it was
Really?
so cool. Yeah, it was.
Okay. 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 So when you got there, you were doing an academic internship, correct?
Mhm.
And what was
So
that
I
internship?
had So I believe I was in like 3 classes. I was there for 3 months, and my internship was with a company called Alma Health. And I think there were 2 other interns. So it was a very small group, but it was really cool because we all just kind of got to collaborate together. And again, we were in Spain. So and it was the coolest thing about it, honestly, was just learning like the work culture in a different country. And because I
What was
actually
it? What
before
was the
that
difference?
so Spain, they're just like they're very laid back, they don't really I mean, sometimes we never met in an office. We always met in like coffee shops, like super fun places. We went out to dinner, like it was just so fun, and it's very friendly. It's not like your traditional like boss like employee relationship. I felt
Mhm.
like my boss was like my friend, we could have very meaningful, good conversations, and I didn't feel like she was like, like in charge of me, you know what I mean? So, it was really cool. But yeah,
That's so cool. And so what were the biggest academic or athletic hurdles you faced abroad and how did you overcome them?
athletic, I would just say, I mean, there were a lot of times when my friends were like, "Oh, like we want to go out. We're gonna do this." And you're in a different country and you want to go experience the country, but I was like, "Okay, like I want to do this, but I have these obligations. I have these goals that I want to, achieve." So there were definitely some times where I had to kind of like sit back and be like, okay, like I'm gonna have to miss out on this because, I have a workout tomorrow, or I need to do this. And a lot of times I did really try to like kind of make a compromise because I was in a different country and, I wanted to experience it and I didn't want to hold myself back. But I
Yeah.
also, like I said, I did have those goals. So it was just kind of like balance of both of them. And then academically, I honestly don't I wouldn't say I really had any challenges. I mean maybe I was in an intensive Spanish class, so that alone I
That's
guess was
hard.
a challenge.
What
But
about
it was really fun.
that's amazing. That's amazing. So what about you said that there was obviously you're in another country and you're trying to explore. Like what was your favorite thing? Like what'd you go do? What'd you go see while you were out there? Tell us about Barcelona.
My favorite thing, my one thing was like I'm gonna try like all the food everywhere. I wanted to try just like everything. So I tried so many different, and the food is incredible. I don't think I had a bad bite of food when I was
Yeah.
there.
Did
All
you go
I
on
mean,
any on That's incredible. When you were going through runs, you said the best way to explore a country is through running it. So where did you run? What did you see on your runs? What was that like?
So a lot of my runs, I would like sometimes we lived, I want to say like 3 or 4 miles from the beach. So I would just run through the city and then to the beach. And then like just running through the city is just so fun. I mean, there's so many people all hours of the day, especially in Barcelona. People are out. I mean, like the people are
Really?
coming home from the clubs at like 5 a.m. There's families walking with their kids at like 12, like midnight. I mean, there's just people all the time. And I also never felt unsafe, which is one of the other reasons I really loved it. But you can run right by all the landmarks, like the Sagrada Familia, just so many incredible things. And all of those, if you go early enough in the morning, because I would usually run in the morning, there's a lot less people there too. So that's another really awesome
Mhm.
thing too, because you get to see it without the crowd. So
That's so cool. So you're just immersed in this city, but you're still a student athlete. You're studying, you're learning, you're studying a different degree than you ever had previously been studying. How did being immersed in all of that culture and environment, did it impact your identity ever as an athlete, especially?
I think a little bit. I would say my identity is very deeply rooted in being an athlete, but it also kind of gave me the perspective of like, every athlete knows there's much more to life than being an athlete, but sometimes it feels like, okay, like this is my entire life. And it
Yeah.
just gave me like a much broader perspective of, I mean, like there is so much more like out there than just being an athlete, like one race, one game, especially like one bad race or one bad game, like there's just
Yeah.
so much more to life in so many ways. So I think it kind of just like it really just opened my eyes about just so many things.
That's amazing. And you obviously were away from families. Like, how did you maintain that mental resilience through all of it?
I called my family a lot when I could get a hold of them. It was really weird with the time difference. I think it was like 7 or 8 hours. But and I was really fortunate to be living with the girls I lived with because they were super awesome and they were just like my best friends when I was there. So that obviously really helped. But yeah, I just think like just being in contact with my family really helped. And obviously calling them. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you're in Barcelona and you're obviously focusing on like being a student athlete, making sure you hit all the milestones, your coach is tracking you. When was there had to have been a night you just had fun and you just like went out with everyone. Like what was that experience?
yeah, there definitely were, and I those nights, that's when I kind of was like, "You know what? Like, I'm in Barcelona, I need to, like, let loose a little bit and just have
Yeah.
some fun." And for those nights, I or just, like, days, my coach was super flexible about moving things around. So even when we would like, if I would go out or, like, we would travel and, it would just be, like, a late night and I was super tired, I had 1 off day during the week, so I would usually save the off day for, like, anytime I would like after I would go out or like a long travel day or something. And would just let me kind of like configure my week however. So I would kind of just like take that off day, put it there, and then kind of like switch my runs around. So I could
Yeah.
still have that experience.
So you're here though, but the entire team's still training in Nebraska. How did that was there conflict with that or were your teammates supportive?
Not really. I mean, my teammates were super supportive. They loved seeing everything I was doing. They loved staying updated. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was really fun.
That's really, really cool. And have you started a trend? Have there been more athletes doing it since or
There
no?
have not yet.
Okay.
I tried. I did try to get one of my teammates to do it and, they kind of fell through, but
They were like, "No, that's way too much to
yeah,
manage." That's so funny.
exactly.
Would you recommend to athletes that can do it to do it?
100%. I mean, it's so funny because my parents are gonna be like, "Yeah, we told you it was gonna be so fun," after I was like, "I'm not going." But it was truly the most incredible experience of my life. I mean, just to immerse yourself in a different culture and to really just push yourself, and push yourself out of your comfort zone and just do hard things because I think about that all the time. I'm like, "How did I do that?" Like, "How did I live in Spain and, like, do all my training and all this stuff by myself, but I did and I loved every single second of it. So I would 100% recommend it.
That's amazing, and I love that. Looking back, what's something you know now that you just wish in general your pre-studying abroad self knew about balancing sports and academics and just the
I would say just like it can be flexible. I mean, as much as it seems like it is like so just like this needs to be done like 100% this way and only this way, it's just not like that, especially if you communicate with your coach or whoever you're talking to. Things can always be moved around and accommodations can be made, and it's not always as black and white as it seems because before I went I was so like, nope, everything needs to be done a certain way. And if it's not done that way, then it's not right, which not
Yeah.
true at all.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you do now?
So I mean, just communicating with my coach. I mean, like I said, things can be
Yeah.
like moved around, like with anything. I
Yeah.
mean, just if anything comes up, I mean, it's not the end of the world if, I can't do something a certain way. So I think that's a really important thing to remember.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And so what's
Eh,
one piece of advice that you would give to other D1 athletes thinking about studying?
I would say just like your motivation and your self-determination is so incredible and it can take you so far, like so far. It's amazing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And then something that I would love to talk to you about is your NIL journey because you've had a unique NIL journey as well. What kickstarted NIL for you?
So I always wanted to do NIL. I just never started because there's always, like, oh, I'm gonna have to post a video of myself talking on the internet, and everyone's gonna be like, "What is she doing? She's posting a video of
Yeah.
herself talking on the internet." So
Yeah.
I was really scared. So from like freshman year to junior year, I did nothing. I just didn't. I didn't even buy into it. I was like, I'm not doing it. Like, it's not happening for
You're
me.
like, I'm done.
Exactly. I'm like, this is not my thing. I'm not doing it, whatever. And then some of my friends started doing it from other schools and I all started to really blow up. And I kind of was like, maybe I'm gonna start posting a little bit. So I started posting a little bit on TikTok and then I posted a couple things on Instagram and I kind of had a moment. I was just like, this is fun for me. So I'm just gonna do it. And if people think it's weird, then whatever, because I really had a fun time doing it. I loved like the editing process, like the idea of like creating a video, just like the content creation, just everything. So I kind of
Yeah.
fell in love with the process. And with that, I was kind of just like, this is something I want to do. And I need to just like, again, just push myself out of my comfort zone and kind of like put myself out there. And I just started posting videos of like, my day in the life, just like relatable content for other athletes, and it kinda just, like, kickstarted from there, so
So you looked and took NIL and you looked at it entirely from a social media perspective of just like, okay, I am going to post on social media, hopefully reach a number of followers and then start reaching out to brands, or did brands start reaching out to you?
I wanna say it was kind of like 50-50 when I first started. I would reach out to I had a couple brands that I just, like, loved, and I would reach out to them, but I did get some brands that reached out to me, and I wanna say my first NIL deal one of my first NIL deals was actually with Adidas. So that also
Really?
gave me it gave me like a ton of confidence. I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I want to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then for those just getting started in NIL now or incoming athletes, like what advice do you have to them?
I would say just be authentic, be yourself. I mean, that's why people are going to want to follow your journey. That's why people are going to care about you. And that's when you're going to have the most fun, when you're not pretending to, kind of have this different persona. If you just show, what you're about, that's when you're going to have the most success.
And this is on posting on social media. So what is the coolest NIL deal you've received that you just like love doing? What was that experience?
Mine, I think it was with a company called Emeritus, which is a financial company, and they brought us to a Salt Dogs game, which is their local team in Lincoln, Nebraska, for Women in Sports Day, and we got to sign posters for a bunch of kids. We got to throw a first pitch. It was just a really fun event, and those are my favorite kind of ones because I get to really interact with the community and I get to see the younger generation of athletes, especially for someone like me who does track. I don't get a lot of kids that are like, I want to do track. It's always like, I want to play
Right.
soccer, I want to play basketball, I want to play football. I don't have a lot of kids that
Yeah.
are like, I want to be a runner.
Yeah. They're
So
like, I
those
want to
are
run.
exactly. So those events are always so fun for me because I love to just inspire the younger generation.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's beautiful. Well, talking about inspiring the younger generation, what advice do you have to a kid who's going through recruitment right now and is feeling a little lost with their journey?
I would say just be bold, and again, just be yourself. I wouldn't hesitate to reach out yourself. I think there's a very big stigma behind like the coach needs to reach out to me, but a lot of coaches love when you take initiative and you reach out to them. And I want to say a ton of collegiate athletes got recruited because they reached out to their coach. And that doesn't make you any less good because you reached out to them. It's just there's a huge pool of athletes that all these coaches are looking at. And sometimes it's hard to look at every single one.
To
So if you put yourself
navigate.
in exactly.
Yeah.
So if you just put yourself right in front of them, you're doing yourself a huge favor.
That's amazing. And what advice do you have to parents or coaches of high school athletes right now? Like, what's one piece of advice you wish that they would know or understand better?
I would say just like it's a very fluid process. And honestly, it's sometimes it's confusing. And to just stay organized the best you can. Like if you can make a list of like, these are the schools, that I want to go to, these are the schools that no. And I would say 100% respond to every single coach, college that reaches out to you because you don't want to get a bad rep from just ignoring people. And if they took the time to reach out to you, all you can do is return the favor. So
Yeah. And then also focusing still on advice for that like younger athlete and that younger generation, or even just other athletes listening that are trying to play at a high level and navigate the what it's like being an athlete, right? What does your inner voice sound like when you're not performing well? Like how do you navigate those hard days?
one thing that I always tell myself is like, I'll tell myself, you belong here because I think a lot of people have, imposter syndrome of like,
Totally.
okay, like I don't belong here. Like I'm doing terrible. Like, what am I doing here? But you're there for a reason and you 100% belong there. And one bad day, one bad race does not define all the work and everything that you've put into it. So I think it's just like a very important little mantra to just like remind myself, like, I belong. I'll stand on the line of a race and I'll be like, like I belong in this race. Like I'm supposed to be here because
I
if
like
I
that a
if I
lot.
wasn't, I wouldn't be there. So
No, I
yeah,
like that a lot. Imposter syndrome can be huge and I hate the term. It should not exist. I
yeah,
hate it.
I know.
It's so real and I think it's especially real for female athletes. So that's really cool the way that you're able to say like, "No, I belong here and this is where I'm supposed to be right now." That's beautiful. The last like piece of advice is kind of like what do you think makes a coach say, "I want that person on my team?"
I would say just having initiative, dedication. I mean, there's nothing a coach likes more than when they see that an athlete is dedicated because that's not something you can really teach. I mean, when someone wants to do something, it's just so much more different than you have to be like, okay, you need to do this, 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 you need to show up for this.
Yeah.
So when you just show, you're dedicated, you're bought in, I think that is just such an incredible aspect.
That's going to get you to the team, but that's also going to keep you on the team longer. Totally.
Exactly.
Totally. Okay. Well, now let's get into our TMI section, our too much insight, kind of rapid fire, kind of just like some fun questions, and we're gonna go one by one. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Go to snack when you're on the road. What keeps you fueled?
Beef jerky.
Okay. What's your favorite travel memory from studying abroad? Like one moment that you just love to reflect on.
I would say, honestly, I went on a long run in France. I ran 12 miles and I got to run part of the Tour de France course. So that
No
was
way.
so fun. Yeah,
Wait,
it
sorry,
was
we need to talk about
so
this for
cool.
a second. You ran the Tour de France course?
Yes,
How did
because
what was that like?
it was in Nice last year and we were staying right in Nice and it was kind of an accident. I started seeing signs for the Tour de France and I saw like the finish line and I was like, wait a second, like this is really cool. So I just ran the course for my 12-mile long run and it was so cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. What a cool experience. Oh my goodness. I feel like we need to just end there. I don't even know what to ask you next. Okay. What's one habit you credit most for surviving through the transitions?
I would say probably my like, dedication.
Okay. Your team locker room energizer when things feel heavy. Like what gets everyone excited?
A good playlist. We love a good
Good
playlist.
music. So what is that go-to song that you listen to before every game?
Honestly, anything by Rihanna will get me
It
going.
gets you ready. Okay. If you had a dream NIL collab, be bold, who would it be with?
Probably, I wanna say, like, either Lululemon or, like, Smart Water. I love smart
Okay.
water.
Smart water, that's a new one. I've heard a lot of Lululemon's reviews. Smart water, really cool. Smart water, if you're listening, give her the NIL deal. Okay. If you could switch sports for a day, what would you try?
Ooh, what would I try? Honestly, golf. I'm horrible at golf, but it seems like a fun time.
It's
So
it's the next one. What what's one thing in your locker bag that has no business being there?
let's see. Probably my iron pills.
Okay. Okay. Last two. Okay. What's your most underrated leadership skill, do you think?
I think just like I always say like the best leaders are like your big sisters. Like just be a friend.
Just
Um
be a nice person.
exactly. Like people don't need like a mom or like like a leader so called. They just need, a friend. So
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And final question today. What does committed while you're off duty mean to you?
to me that means just fully buying into what you're doing 100%. No matter what you're doing. So just every aspect of your life. You are committed. And I mean, like your sleep, your nutrition, everything, especially being an athlete in season, like all the little things make the world of difference. So,
Amazing. Amazing. So you're studying abroad, but you're still training as a student athlete. So what was an average day like for you while you were in Barcelona? Like, walk me through your day.
okay. So typically, if I was back in Nebraska, I would run first thing in the morning. But in Spain and most of Europe, people don't go to bed until like 2 a.m. And the walls are not very thick. So I have a really hard time sleeping, like going to bed early. So I was not waking up to run in the morning because I had like a 9 a.m. class and then I had an 11 a.m. class, I think. So I would wake up, eat breakfast, go to my class. I would take the metro to my class. I love the metro. I miss the metro so much. And then I would usually go to a coffee shop after my class and then go back to my other class. And then I would come back to my apartment. And when I got into the later months of July, I did have to run on the treadmill a couple times because it was super hot. But in early June, I got back to my apartment around like 1 p.m. and I would just go for my run, come back, take a shower. Sometimes I would go to the gym if I had like a cross train or like a core session or something because it was right by my apartment. Shower, and then I would kind of hang out for a little bit, do my homework, and then me and my roommates would always go out to dinner. And we would just kind of like hang out for the rest of the night. So it was very, very chill. And I kind of got into a routine. It was super fun.
That's so much fun. And so while you're there and you're doing these trainings, was your strength coach sending you training every day? Like, were you following a very like clear regimen from your coach and trainers of what day by day to do?
Yeah. So I had kind of like was set out like on a week thing.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just went like by that. And that's kind of how I was able to switch. I would say like, oh, I need my off day here. And I would just take, if I had, like a 9 mile run on a Thursday and my off day on a Sunday, sometimes I would just switch them and take my off day Thursday, do the run on Sunday. So
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, that's awesome. That's so cool. Amazing. Well, Cami, it has been so fun getting to know you, hear all about your studying abroad journey, and just like everything that you are as an athlete. This has been such a unique story. So thank you so much for coming on. If anyone's interested in learning more about you or just reaching out, like how can they get in touch? What's your Instagram?
my Instagram is just my name. So Cami Merickel, Instagram and TikTok, LinkedIn, pretty much everything is just my name. So
And Miracle is spelt in her last name, everyone, just so you know. Cami, Cami, Merickel. So please reach out if you have any questions or you want to get in touch or, Smart Water's listening to reach out to get in touch with you as well. But thank you so much for coming on. Is there any last one word piece of advice you have to a younger athlete out there, current athlete listening?
I would just emphasize what I already said and just be true to yourself. That's your greatest strength. So
Thank you so much. Well, have a great rest of your day and good luck this season. We will be cheering you on.
thank you.
Bye.